Alright, so this is the stem stitch that we're going to be looking at. So like with every other stitch, you have to start by anchoring. So you're going to do that by putting your needle through the back of the fabric and leaving about an inch of a tail of thread, and then make a tiny little stitch. And then after that, you're going to come up through the original hole that you made. So that's anchoring your thread. So now to do the stem stitch, we're going to stitch back towards the beginning of the line. And then when we come up, we're going to come up through the middle of that stitch and pull all the way through. And then you put your needle back through the fabric ahead of that last stitch, and then again you're going to come up through the middle of those. So with the stem stitch, it's the same motion that you're repeating over and over again, but the one trick that you want to pay attention to is that little almost like a U shape of thread where you're putting your needle through the middle. You want to make sure that that's always facing the same direction. So here in the video it is down, so it's under the line that you're stitching. If you wanted, you could hold it above the line that you're stitching, and that's totally fine. You just can't switch them up, or you're not going to get that wrapped look that the stem stitch gives you. So you just want to make sure that whether you choose to hold that little loop of thread above or below, you just want to be consistent with that. And like with every other stitch, like the back stitch and the split stitch and others, you want to make sure that your stitch lengths are consistent. So if you're dealing with something that has a lot of curves to it, then you would probably want to go with a smaller stitch, a shorter stitch, just to have more control to be able to go around those curves. Besides that, you can kind of choose your length that you want. There's no right or wrong, but you just want to make sure that whatever you choose, you're just being consistent, and that's going to help you give a more professional and polished look. So this stem stitch is really great for obviously stems, like if you're doing flowers or anything like that, but it's also just a really great way to add some texture to an otherwise straight line that doesn't have a lot of interest to it. But a lot of the patterns in the pattern shop at thistleandthreaddesign.com use the stem stitch. I think it's a really fun stitch that just makes it look kind of like a twisted rope. But to finish off, you'll flip it over to the back and slip your needle up under the stitches you've already made, and do that twice. On the second time, just pop your needle through that loop and pull tight, and that's going to create a little knot. And then you can clip that, and you can also clip that excess thread that you have from whenever you anchored in the very beginning, so that you can kind of clean up the back a little. So that's the stem stitch. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments, or you can shoot me an email at hello@thistleandthreaddesign.com.